Hi, it's me, Daphne. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about my top romances of 2024. I have 8 books on this list. I've put them in a bit of an order, though they're not necessarily in star rating order, because some books have stuck with me in my brain more concretely than others that I may have read earlier in the year. So I'm just gonna tell you my top 8 romances and tell you as much as I can recall about them. Starting with number 8, I have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is the second book in her series where the first one is called like Part of Your World and then there's Just for the Summer. I think that's what it is. This one is about 2 doctors and I loved this one because there's so much like sweet pining from the male lead. He just is so enamored with our main character and I found her personally very relatable. From what I remember, she loves her friends very strongly but can be a little bit like firm with them in the way that she speaks to them, but she always means really well, and I can relate to that. Absolutely loved the pining in this book. It's number 8 only because it's fairly light on the steam, and I love my stuff steamy and dramatic, okay? Loved this book though. I'm pretty sure I gave it 5 stars. Check it out if you haven't already. This next book is 7 Days in June in our slot number 7. This book, I hesitate to call a romance, even though technically it is. It's very emotional and quite dark. This is about a romance between 2 high school students, and we delve into that as flashbacks. It's been many, many years since then. I think our characters are probably in their 30s because our female main character, Ava, she has a child. She's an author, and our male main character, Sean, is also an author, and he's been like secretly kind of like writing to her in his novels, and it's their romance coming back together, but also like dealing with a lot of traumatizing things that happened in their past, like dark stuff. I wouldn't recommend this as like a romance on its own, but I do think it's a beautiful emotional story that is really well written. I definitely had a very impactful time reading this story and loved it by the end, but like was emotionally distraught while reading it for sure. The next one I want to talk about in our slot number 6 is A False Start by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in her Gold Rush Ranch series. I just remember having a lot of fun reading this story. This is a story between Nadia and Griffin. Nadia is like the sister of one of the characters in a previous book. She's quite young. She's probably like 18, 19 at the start, and then it time jumps a little bit where she's maybe early 20s. And she has a moment with this older character, Griffin, who's her brother's friend. There's like a 14-year age gap between them. He has a lot of grumpy characteristics. I believe he used to be like an NFL player or something, but had a severe injury that was kind of his own fault and is unable to play anymore, and he's just kind of struggling with some demons in his closet. And Nadia also has a tumultuous past, had a poor relationship with her parents growing up, and she's kind of run away from that life to live with her much older half-brother, and that's kind of where this story kicks off. And I think it was just really interesting to see them build their bond together and lean on each other and like try to be better for each other. And generally I had a fun time reading this story, and Elsie Silver, I would definitely recommend her as a romance author to check out. This next one I have in the number 5 slot. Again, these orders are like very flexible and just like chill, like don't take them too seriously. But this next one is a Christmas book and it's called Can I Tell You Something? I had so much fun reading this book. So this story is between Hannah and Cameron. Cameron is kind of like a sex worker in a way, where he creates audio content online of like these steamy kind of insert yourself stories. So it's like, hey girl, like I haven't seen you here before, and then he pauses to like let the listener kind of insert their own dialogue, and then he'll like continue the conversation. And And it was just really fun. The female main character, Hannah, is a really big fan of his. He goes by a different name online and she follows him on Instagram and everything. Turns out Cameron is her brother's roommate and her brother has invited Cameron to their Christmas holiday, like 2 weeks at their French chalet. So Hannah sees Cameron and was like, oh my God, you're the guy I've been obsessed with. Like, I listen to all your audio stuff, you know, get off on it, and have sent you all these like DMs without you responding because I didn't expect a response. So she's like hella embarrassed and she doesn't want him to know that she's like a super fan, but he quickly discovers that she knows who he is. And obviously he's like attracted to her because it is a romance. And I really liked how they integrated his audio work into their romance. It was just fun, okay? It was fun. It was like a bit of a forbidden romance element because it's brother's friend and he's staying at a place with her parents, like in the same building, because it's a house. It was just, I had a great time. There's a lot of like skiing in there. It gives like affluent people vibes for sure because they're like, this is their second home. They're skiing on the Alps, whatever. They're like rich people, but it's not dramatic like billionaire level. It's just like normal rich people level. Definitely a fun time. I don't think you need to read it around Christmas time if you don't feel like it, but that probably is preferred. At a minimum, read it in the wintertime because there's a lot of time spent in a snowy environment, and I just think it's probably best to read that when you're actually physically cold. The next book in our 4 slot is The Words. I talked about this in my mid-year check-in and it still holds up. I don't remember all the details about this book at this point, but I know it has to do with a rock star and a amateur songwriter and how they had a connection when they were in high school. Then we time jump. The male main character, the rock star, is in a dark place. He's just like sex, drugs, and money vibes, and he's just self-destructive, and they need someone to kind of like babysit him. So they get our female main character to join them on tour. She needs the money even though she doesn't want to spend time with him because they had this horrible falling out that is a mystery in the novel, and it gets slowly revealed kind of what happened. But they hire her because they know she hates him and that she won't fall victim to his charms like every other babysitter they've tried to hire. And at first when I heard that synopsis, I was like, okay, well, why do they keep hiring like babysitters that will want to sleep with him? You know what I mean? If that's like his MO is to like manipulate the babysitter to sleep with him so he can do whatever he wants. But like, even if they hire a male babysitter, like he'll just offer that male babysitter like women because a bunch of women are always throwing themselves at him, and then the babysitter will be distracted and he'll just go off and do whatever he wants again. So yeah, interesting story, quite long. I just ate up all the drama. I loved it. I want to read more by this author, but I don't think she has that big of a backlist. So, and then also I think the other book that's tied to the series is like stuff that happened prior to the Words plotline, and you already know a character in that book and he's like an asshole, like you're not rooting for him. So not sure if I want to read that one, but we'll see. And then later in the year, I finally read another Mariana Zapata. This book has taken slot number 3, and that is Wait For It. This is a slow burn romance between a young woman who has recently come into custody of her 2 nephews, the sons of her brother. It's not explained up front why that's the case, but it gets revealed to you as you read the story. And her romance with the neighbor across the street. He's a bit grumpy, but he's a very well-meaning man. He is the coach of the baseball team that her nephews end up joining. Seeing like the little breadcrumbs of them falling in love is just so addicting when you read a Mariana Zapata. Like, she just does it so well. I think you have to also go into her books knowing that it's gonna be super, super slow, and then you have to like look for those tiny clues of like obsession and love and desire and pining. I just love pining so much, and our male main character pined for her so hard but so subtly. He just wanted to do everything right by the book because he's got some like drama baggage that he's been carrying around and hasn't addressed in a while. But now that he's interested in this woman, he's like, shit, I gotta take care of business and like clear this BS up. I devoured it. I think I probably read it in 48 hours. Like, I was hooked, and that's a long book. So would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend it, and I just need to continue to read more Mariana Zapata. I really want to do a complete backlist read of her books in order if possible. So I have Lingus out on my Kindle that I'm excited to get to because that's her first published book. But yeah, I want to just read all of them, and I love doing things in order when I can. The next book in our slot number 2 is An Extraordinary Union. This is a historical romance. It's quite short, and it's about 2 spies. We have our Black female main character who is a spy. She's like pretending to be a slave, like it's that time period. What year is it? It's like the Union Army, like that time period. It doesn't like explicitly say on the back. Oh, the Civil War. It takes place during the Civil War era. So we have Elle, who is a female Black woman pretending to be a slave in the South. She's truly a spy. She's trying to collect information. And then we have Malcolm, who is a white man. He is a detective slash spy, but he's posing as a Union soldier in the South, and it's their romance together. Obviously, at some point, you know, they discover their true identities and stuff, but it's still quite difficult to navigate because they're spies, they have their own agendas, but also like racism is very rampant in this time period. So for a Black woman to be with a white man is definitely gonna like turn some heads and cause issues socially. So there was that layer as well, but I found this story really interesting. I found the espionage aspect to be really intriguing as its own plot point as well. And I had a fun time with this, and I'm glad that I have it in my collection. And then my number 1 romance for 2024 is Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is actually the second time I read this book, and I gave it 5 stars both times. This is the second book in her Gold Rush Ranch series with Willa and Cade, I think his name is. And it's just so fun, okay? It's just nice to read stories that aren't so heavy sometimes, but they have true emotional depth. They're not just like fluffy, silly, nonsensical. They have like a realism, a lightheartedness, but also like a depth to them. And I loved this story. It had me laughing out loud. Willa is such a great character. She's very strong-willed. She stands up for the people she loves, and it's hot and steamy, and I don't have any critiques. There's no critiques. It's a great story. Loved it. There's not really else much to say. I feel like it's so much easier to talk verbosely about books that you don't like, but when it's books that you do like, you're just like, it's great, it's amazing, I loved it, go read it, you know? So those are the top romances I read in 2024. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please feel free to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it, and obviously it helps out my channel. And I will catch you in another video. Bye!